Hello and welcome to another episode of Rogue Report. My name is Matt, and today I wanted to talk to you about Dungeons and Dragons. I had it in my head that I wanted to do an episode where I kind of just talked about D&D, like my experiences with it, but I also wanted to read like some of the crazier stories that some people have, whether they were playing or, DMing, because I've also done both, and I can tell you playing the game and running the game is a completely different thing. I have talked to people recently about possibly starting up another campaign that I would run, but even thinking about it, like it's a pain in the ass to do it. I ran a story called Out of the Abyss, being down in the Underdark. When you're DMing a game or running a campaign in Dungeons and Dragons like that, you have freedom of doing whatever the hell you want to do as the DM. Like, you're in control of this game, but you're also in control of the players. And like, our group consisted of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There was 7 or 8 of us at one point, and we are a rambunctious group. But we haven't played, like, our group hasn't played a campaign in over a year now. It was one of those things where we were actually having it at my house for a good solid year or so, and I had to pull the plug on that just because of the fact that I had switched my jobs around. It's not that I don't want to play. I still want to play. It was just like bad timing and shit like that. Stuff happens. Like people's lives just end up carrying on, and then you have to deal with it. So, I would love for our group to start playing again, at least maybe once a month. We were playing weekly. We played every Wednesday for like 3 years straight, missing a week here and there, but we were pretty consistent in playing on a weekly basis, having our drinks, having our guy time. Earlier on, one of my favorite things that we've ever done, but then again, it's also one of my favorite things that I've ever done. I remember, I think one of our first campaigns, if not the first one, it was a Nick Rand campaign, and we were at what was called the Yawning Portal. I don't know if that was the name of the book that he was running. I don't think it was. I have no idea. One point in this campaign, now at the beginning of the first time that I played, this character that I was playing, it was a big-ass tank barbarian motherfucker. But I was also, I think I was a Hildorf, if I'm not mistaken. Hildorf, and I was, oh, you know what? Holy shit. Wait a minute. Where's my fucking phone? I forgot that I had saved his stats, because this was before I used the D&D Beyond app. Is it still in here? Yep, this is the first character that I've ever had. He finished that, like, we stopped playing. He was a level 9 barbarian. He had a strength +4, armor class of 15, hit points at 87. This motherfucker was an absolute tank. Now, the one thing here is the thing that Nick gave me was this bomb bag, which was just a homebrew DM looking at me going, hey, this is so, like, you don't feel left out type thing. Because he did give me this bag, which was just, like I could throw a bomb out of my bag and then just keep throwing bombs out of my bag. Like, it was just like a bomb with a bag of infinite bombs or some bullshit. I don't know why he honestly gave that to me, because it was some crazy shit. People of interest in this campaign. Cal had a Moonstone quest. Cassandra was missing her brother. Obaya, he had magical items for sale. Herb and brother were 2 bugbears. And one of the bugbears, like Herb's brother was the one that talked, but Herb didn't talk, and he sounded like almost like Fozzie Bear, because Nick did the voices. Yek, Y-E-K, his name was Yek. He was some like big time dude at the bazaar, and he had a really big dick. Azarok was a were-rat in Skullport. I'm pretty sure he died. Clay, the Skull Cleaver, or Cleaver, I'm thinking. And Darabith, the lady I slapped. I slapped the lady in the face. I don't remember that. We're going to actually take that out. We're going to cut that out. And that's just all background. That's for Amber. That's the other one. That's right, because there was 2 characters on this. My second character was based off of my first character, which would have been my first character's daughter. Now, anyway, going back to what I was saying about the Yawning Portal and getting into the dungeon with first, group of guys that we were playing with there. And at this point, we were very, very fresh minds, and I'd never played the game before. This is probably like our 4th or 5th session by this time. In this part in the book where we were down in, some fucking random labyrinth in some dungeon, wherever, and we're walking around, and we come across this room, and inside the room was a fresher looking corpse than you would imagine seeing. And when we, looked at him and did medicine checks, that we realized that he hadn't been dead for very long at all. Through medicine checks, we were able to, determine that he had died from poison. And there's, said poison coming from, a spider bite or a snake bite or something like, I think it was a spider's. So this poor man met his early demise due to a spider bite, and the poison got into his blood system, and then he died. And we had found them, but we had found them a little too late. Or did we? Because then, a good 10 minutes later, down the road, inside the dungeon, down the hallway, we come across this door that, I don't know if this was during the time that I like to kick in doors, but there was a point in time where I was just kicking down every door that I came across. I did not want to stop kicking doors in. I was the barbarian. I was the big brute motherfucker that just decided, like, I'm going to fight anybody that wants to fight me. Who wants it? Kick these 2 double doors open, and inside were like 3 big-ass manticores or whatever the fuck they were called. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Manticore? I'm going to look that up. 3 of these guys inside this room, ready to fuck my day up for kicking down the door that they so desperately did not want to kick down. And I said, excuse me, and then just hurry up and backed out of the room and shut the doors. We had a druid, most likely Rob. I think Rob was always a fucking druid. But in the group was our druid, and if you're not actually familiar with D&D, but they're the ones that are familiar with the animal kingdom. And sometimes you can have the ability to speak to animals. Rob had that ability, and he had learned that these guys were just a little aggravated and pissed off because they were just super fucking hungry. And at that point, we didn't have much on us because we were also kind of just, running around a dungeon looking for fucking shit. And, at that point, didn't really have anything to offer them, but my brain, decided to work on this particular day and during this particular session. And I remember looking at somebody in session. I don't know if I was looking at Charlie or whoever I was looking at, but I was like, somebody want to come help me with something real quick? We're going to go back down this hallway. We're going to go grab that body that's back there. That fresher looking body that has all that poison in its blood. More than likely, the poison that's in this body is also going to poison these lions. You know what I'm saying? And I think somebody disagreed with me and said that was a bad idea. More than likely Rob. I'll get back to Rob's chaotic behavior. Without a hitch, it worked perfectly. And what had happened was, you open the doors and we were like, hey, here's your meal. Enjoy. Let us know if you need any refills. And just run out the fucking door real quick. And then they tore that body apart and, probably had to wait, in game, just wait 10, 15 minutes for that poison to settle in. And we walked back into that room, and they were obviously now struggling and poisoned, and they were hurting. We felt bad, so we had to put them out of their misery real quick and go, and fucking, stab them in the throat real quick. Probably made Rob do that. Going back to, like I was saying about Rob's chaotic behavior, actually, I do want to point out that Nick did say something after that where in the book or something that he was reading about the book, there was a number of things during that campaign that you could do. DMs would say that's an inspiration die or, whatever the fuck ever. This is one of the cooler things that you can do. And that was a top 5 moment in that story. So I'm glad that I hit that for him. Yeah, so going back to Rob's chaotic behavior, it's when the beginning of that campaign, way before the lion thing or Manticore thing, way before that happened, it was the first session of D&D that I ever fucking played. Rob almost just ruined the entire thing at the beginning of the campaign. The first day, to get down into the Yanni portal, whatever, down into the dungeon, you had to pay a small fee of 10 gold a piece or some bullshit like that. and Rob had tackled the guy and like held him down at like knife point and said, I ain't paying shit, you're fucking robbing me and my friends and all that. And then there's all like our party just like standing around watching one of us lose our minds like right at the beginning of it. We're like, hey, we just started. Why don't you get off of this poor man? And we're all like tipping the guy like extra, like, sorry about our stupid fucking friend. Like, sorry for this man who just like spastically chose violence for no reason. I mean, he has his own reasons. Rob's characters were always like the most chaotic sons of bitches in the campaigns. It would not have been that same campaign. It would have been like the one after that one. I think it was the one that Charlie ran. Rob had walked into this random dragon camp. My memory is shit. I mean, it was a camp for whatever fucking guild, and then they had the power of dragons on their side, and they were all like super fucking evil. I don't remember what the fuck they were called. And we were, if you know what the Harpers are, we were the Harpers, or working for on the side of the Harpers, whatever, and they were like the opposite. They were like the evil people. The camp was not very easy to infiltrate. There was a lot of, from what I remember Charlie explaining, what had happened for Rob was just pure luck. Because during like combat and like checks where it matters for Rob, like to roll a bigger number, he would always roll shit numbers. But this day, he chose to randomly infiltrate this camp by himself, and it worked. Because he was rolling outstandingly. Like, anytime he decided, he's like, I'm just going to walk up to the gate. I'm just going to do it. And Charlie's like, well, there's a bunch of people. He's like, I don't care. Nat 20. And, Charlie's like, oh, okay. And then, like, starts talking to, like, the leader of the cult. And, like, the leader's like, what are you actually doing here? Are you here to infiltrate us? And like Rob would roll like another like 18, 19, 20, and then it would work. And like Rob's just there to, like, oh, I just wanted to come here to the camp and check out what you guys have to offer. And then like the guy's just standing there after that roll, and he has to go, oh yes, because of the power of our dragons. And yes, and Charlie's making this up as he goes along because because he doesn't know what to do. He's like, this shouldn't be working, but it is. At this point, there's 4 or 5 of us who just started. Charlie's been playing D&D for the past 10 plus years or so. So I just felt, I remember feeling so dumb playing the game, earlier on. But then watching shit like that happen when Rob just like blindly walks through a camp and doesn't get killed, and we have to basically go in and rescue him, or we were rescuing somebody else. The only other thing that I can honestly remember from any other campaign, which would be that same one that Charlie had ran, one of our NPCs was Liam Neeson. And it wasn't Liam Neeson on purpose. Like, his name was something different in a book somewhere else. Charlie was giving us the character's name and description and bullshit, and he like the way he pronounced it, and Nick rolled with Liam Neeson for, the rest of that session. And Charlie's literally like writing it down. He's like, all right, I guess I'm changing this guy's name to Liam Neeson now. And then anytime the NPC Liam Neeson showed up, Nick would lose his fucking mind. There was times where Nick would like take his shirt off, start chugging his beer, because now Liam Neeson shows up. And in all honesty, he was just like a basic ass kicker. There was a one where I remember him like showing up, and then like the song that we picked for this scene was Don't Stop Me Now by Queen, and where Liam Neeson just shows up and starts kicking the living shit out of everybody. He does end up dying at one point, and it made Nick really sad, but Nick donned the mask that he wore. So like there was like some really weird connection between Nick and Liam Neeson. I mean, obviously, once again, it just not, or he wasn't he didn't exist in the game. We put him there. That's just one of the cool things about D&D is like you don't know what you're going to be doing. Another random in the campaign that Mike ran was Brendan Fraser from The Mummy. And I don't mean his name was Rick O'Connell or Brendan Fraser. The NPC's name was Brendan Fraser from The Mummy. And I still like now like thinking back, I don't know why he was even there. I think it was like something that had to do with like Halloween theme, what was happening during that period. I don't remember. I think Mike had wrote most of Mike's campaign was sandbox. Like, I mean, obviously he probably got an idea from something else, but then he tried to do something themed for Halloween, and then it dragged on for like an extra session or two, to the point where he's like, we were supposed to do this in one session, but we can just never get anything done. Which, in all honesty, like, that's one of the reasons why I had to stop DMing, because I felt like I was ready to tackle all of this, but I only got like maybe like a fourth of done of what I wanted to do, and I just felt like I needed to play the game more and understand the game more so I could actually run something. And the book that I decided to run as a first-time DM, the internet told me that that's a crazy idea. But I do want to go through here. I'm on r/D&D, just trying to find some really crazy stories. Let's see if I can find a nice big one here. Oh, that's two big ones back to back. Okay, so this is coming from 3 years ago, user Representative Menu 63. DM had a boss in a small room with one entrance. Warlock cast Sickening Radiance immediately. We all ran out, used as immovable rod to seal the stone door, and played cards while the boss died to effectively radiation poisoning. When we went to see our victim, he had dispelled it and then was sitting reading a book. That same warlock then panicked and tried to seduce the boss. Succeeded on his role somehow when we helped this enemy overthrow his master and take control of a cult, who then rewarded us with a building in a nearby town to use as a private home base. We turned into a store and then spent the next 4 sessions building up a staff with cult members. We got into the Merchants Guild to make the cult leader our representative, who, as the cult leaders, tend to spread his beliefs. Anyway, the town deity is now the Loth of our cleric of Pelor, who was not okay with this. So we used a chunk of our profit to help the needy in a city nearby whose churches sent representatives to our town. And I'm pretty sure we were about to go to war. So, so what you're basically saying is that you got a building as payment and decided to create a cult. You guys are fucking nuts. What do you mean? What the fuck do you mean? Oh my lordy. Next one. Holy shit, guy. This one is coming from Ogre MK Mach 5, like Ogre Mach 5 maybe. Not really a single story, but my team's group, this guy being the DM, had some interesting challenges. Not stories, but accomplishing basic tasks. Our team's face, a lovely halfling sorcerer, had utterly failed on every persuasion check she had ever made. Oh, that's just sad. If you have all the charisma and you're the face of the squad, then if you're missing your checks, you suck. Just terrible rolls. She was trying to convince a town guard to let her have a prisoner's bag. Instead, she made the guards so mad that when they started fighting the group, but when the guards got seriously thrashed, which led to a lack of guards and the town uprising after the tyrannical mayor. Okay. You guys got into a fight after basically trying to steal some shit after you were trying to persuade somebody to give you something. You could not get that from them. They took that personally. Now they want to fight you. You take them down. And now that the town's guards are low, like there's a lack of guards around the town, now it's time to take down the mayor. So you guys created a revolution and somehow it was a good thing. Cool. Our team's knowledge cleric had only succeeded on one knowledge, lore, or general intelligence check. And that one success was a 20. Like, wait a minute. Are you keeping track of every goddamn check? Our team's rogue, I'm right here, has attempted to lockpick a dozen doors in as many chests and succeeded fewer than 3 times. It got to the point where the door fighter either just breaks the door down or picks up the chest for an uncontrolled high-speed disassembly in a less conspicuous location. So instead of letting this, that's funny. That's honestly really cool. Like, you just watch this rogue fail more and more and more, and it just gets to the point where like I'm done watching you. And then there's me, the dwarf fighter or the dwarf barbarian, just kicking down doors and throwing chests up against the wall until they open. Love you. Which brings us to the dwarf, who has, despite having charisma of 7 and intelligence of 9 and the wisdom of 11, has succeeded on every single persuasion, lore, and history check they have ever made. However, she has broken multiple axes and malls with critical fails on attacks. Party enters a... I'm sorry, this is another thing on here on r/D&D. Party enters a room with a table in the center. On the opposite side of the table was a goblin statue. On the table was a chessboard. So obviously we had to play and win to get through. Halfway through the game, doing well, one player gets a bright idea and takes out a magical item. Tipsy Bonk Bonk. It is an ale barrel mallet that you hit someone with it and then it gets them a little tipsy drunk. He looks at me and makes a hitting motion. I knew exactly what he was thinking. Drunk goblin making bad chess moves, but I am thinking of a statue, so what can it do? But not yes anyways with a big smile. Another player is in the midst of saying that it is not a good idea and he says anyway, I hit the goblin. The DM says, do you really want to do that? And he says, yes. DM says, okay, you hit the statue and its eyes glow red and a psychic blast emanates outward. DM proceeds to give each player a number, 1 through 4, rolls 4d4s, with everybody's eyes widening, opening, all the chuckling as the guys apologizing for hitting, the one telling us not to do it, and then and says all 4 dice came up 2s, and the total psychic blast hits her, killing her. Oh. He narrates acts out the ending and mid-sentence warning us not to do it because it was a bad idea, starts to falter, groans, oh shit, and falls backwards while flipping us the finger, landing on the ground dead. The player who hit the statue with the jaw on the ground starts stammering, points at me and said, well, he told me to do it. And my response back, well, how? I'm a goblin. Of course I said to do it. But you were the only one who actually did it. Now, the person who died, like the person who was playing the character that died, now is smacking the other player. Player 4 is just sitting there, eyes wide, jaw dropped, not saying anything. DM is losing, busting his guts laughing. Oh my God, we did that. That was remember how I said I used to kick in doors? I totally kicked in a door and died once. That was the only time that I remember a character in our campaigns dying was me. But shut up, phone. I think it was the I don't know if it was Amber that died. I think it might have been. I don't remember my characters. But I kicked down a door, and that's exactly what happened. I said, fuck it, I'm gonna kick down this door and, see what happens. And there was just like these spirit gold fucking poltergeist something on the other side of the door. And I needed to roll high to survive this. And that was basically Nick's, Nick looking at me saying, stop kicking doors down. I'm never going to stop. I don't give a fuck. That's so funny, though, because in this story, somebody wanting to, hit the goblin on the head and the other guy going, yeah, go ahead, who gives a fuck? And then somebody going, please don't do that. And he does it anyway. And the person saying, please don't do that, dies. That's... Oh, what a DM. You're an asshole. All right, we'll read one more here. Let's see if it's let's just try this one. This is the first one on this because it's still r/Dungeons and Dragons. This is a post from 2 years ago. But yeah, we'll do this one and then we'll finish up. I was the DM. To start the campaign, I had all the characters inherit the same kingdom from their grandfather. They were to govern it equally. Each character had a different background. A couple were even different races. Half orc, half elf, blah, blah, blah. Grandpa got around, basically. At any rate, the kingdom turned out to be pacifists. The characters want none of that, and they are trying to conquer nearby lands to grow the kingdom. So the characters hold a rally. They have the most charismatic character give the speech. Blah, blah, blah. We must slay all the non-pacifists. The crowd goes into a mad rage chanting the same thing, slay the non-pacifists. So that's called inciting a riot. In Out of the Abyss, the one that I ran, there's a part where the fucking towns in that, POIs, the places of interest that were named in Out of the Abyss were like Gloop Glorp and Schlip the Doop and Flip the Blop and Clip the Blip. Like, those were literally the names of these fucking places. So we're in like Schlip the Blop or whatever the fuck we're at in this really weird town. Well, this is where they were at. In this big town square, they're trying to fight somebody that they're also trying to stop this resurrection or something. They're doing some sort of, satanic ritual. And they're also like not necessarily trying to stop it, but they're trying to stop one person in particular. And if they take her down, then they should stop this from happening anyway. And that person that they're after, they were fucked anyway. So what had ended up happening was everything seemed good. I played it out that, everything was good and like nothing's going to happen. But what we did was ended up letting the ritual finish. It ended up finishing, and what happened was a Demogorgon was raised from the waters next to this area. And I think like one of the first reactions was like Rob was like, I'll slit its throat, and everybody's like, no, get we gotta go, because we don't fight Demogorgons at like level 3. In our experiences of dealing with like the higher levels of shit, it's never really the greatest thing. I do have one more memory that I can share. There was in like one of the latest campaigns that we played, it was either the last one or the one before that, there was this cauldron that was a flame that basically stayed on and never went out. And it had some sort of magical ability. And I think what it was is if you put a weapon in this flame, it would come out like a level 2 weapon. But if you put it in a level 2, it would come out in a level 3. But you couldn't just keep putting it in there, one after the other. It would always just be, if it was one level, it would just go up to the level higher. There you go. So anyway, I had a javelin that was basically like Thor's hammer. That like the javelin, like if it was nearby me, I could literally just pick it up like that. I didn't actually have to reach for it. I could basically just summon the javelin back into my hand. I was throwing it through the flame because I just had some sort of inclination that this flame had some sort of magical properties, and that if it went through the flame, then I might get some sort of a bonus out of it. Now, whether this was it was either Nick or Mike's campaign, but I threw this javelin through the flame. Like the roll that I had, I don't know if I rolled a nat 20 or something, but it was the highest roll. Like it might as well have been a nat 20 because it kind of blew Nick's mind. I think it was Nick's story. The fight itself, that whole combat should have taken, like what he said is like, I was thinking that we were going to be here for like 35, 45 minutes during this combat. Matt ends it with one turn. I was speculating that the flame had magical properties. It most certainly did. Turned my level 2 javelin into a level 3 javelin, and I was able to hit whatever I was supposed to hit direct on and deal like the perfect amount of damage that I would need to do. Like it was just excellent. One of those moments that you have while playing D&D where it's just like, obviously it's a lot of you like using your own imagination. And if you don't necessarily have whatever the I've said it before, like aphantasia, which I think is like the opposite. Like you can't picture shit in your head. If you're not capable of like putting yourself in a fucking area, like right now, like I can close my eyes and sit here and I'm in like this, like what appears to be somewhat of a stone dungeon. I'm sitting on like one of those wooden benches that's chained to the wall. You got some armor sitting over there. You got whatever that fucking animal is sitting over there. Like, it's just you trying to like put yourself in that situation. That's what it honestly helps playing that game. Like if you've never played D&D before and have found it interesting, I highly recommend it, because that was like one of the biggest things for me to play the game was because of Nick, because Nick wanted to play. He never played before either, and he wanted to give it a shot. And then we went from there, and it was like, like I said, almost 4 years straight of just fucking almost every Wednesday cranking out these games. I know that I missed a lot. I'm pretty sure I can go around and ask everybody like their favorite parts of like our campaigns and our sessions. Because like I said, I can go through like even my characters. Like my first character I said was the dwarf barbarian. His name was Heard. His daughter was the second character, Amber. She was a rogue. I played Stone Cold Steve Austin as a character. And then my last character was Zoso, a wizard. And Zoso being like Led Zeppelin, if you didn't get the reference. Now you do. But anyway, that's probably going to wrap it up here for this episode. I do want to thank everybody that's stopping by the channel and paying attention to, podcasts. This is the Rogue Report that comes out every Saturday now. That'll do it for this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.